musicians, I've found this true a little bit for myself, but also for plenty of people I know. I think we get really, really, really good at playing. And I think musicians, we can lose a little bit of our listening and also just knowing what to listen for, because we don't usually listen to songs as just sort of people. We listen as musicians. So we listen for moments that inspire us and specific elements of a song that we find really captivating and that impact us in a really specific way. But we can really easily lose the forest through the trees, right? If we're focused too much on, oh wow, oh that like I'll hear a song and I'll get like tunnel vision and just literally be listening to the drum part just because it's like, oh, that's a crazy groove he's doing. Oh, that fill he did was nuts. Or I'll just be super focused on the hook melody, whatever it may be. And we can get really, really, really kind of locked in on one specific aspect that we lose the larger vibe of it. And that's something that I really had to train myself to look out for when I'm mixing, specifically from an engineering standpoint. It's like, oh, just because I really, really, really like that, I don't know, sax riff that he did, doesn't mean that needs to be front and center in the mix, right? It'll still have its place. And so specifically that idea of curating a vibe, we do that. You know, I'm not a super experienced DJ by any means. I took the DJ tech course when I was studying in Valencia, and I loved it. It was super fun. I like messing around with turntables, but you know, I've still been on aux for a party, right? So that idea of feeling out, okay, what is the energy? What's going to keep that energy going? What's going to facilitate that? And doing that as a host of an event is very different than doing that when you're putting together your set list, right? For a show. Okay, well, do I want to open with the song that people are most likely to know the words to, or do I want to save that for the end, or do I want to really save that for the encore and hope I can build that momentum? And truth be told, that's something I'm still piecing together. It's tricky, but beyond, you know, when you're facilitating the sound of just the vibe of a party or an event or whatever, and then when you're performing, but then also just when you're putting together your own projects. When I'm doing sequencing for an album, right, it's like, okay, well, first of all, are people even going to listen to it in order? That's a crazy thing that I'm still getting used to. Some people, you put out music, they hit shuffle on an album, which, you know, to each their own, that's crazy to me. If I'm listening to an album for the first time, if I put it on shuffle on accident, no, undo that, track one, let's go through it, right? At least if it's an artist that I think they were particular with their sequencing, right? Some people aren't. Some albums are just collection of songs, here, check them out, any order, whatever, right? So even that's my own, you know, kind of instincts kind of coming through there. But that's something you got to be mindful of, like, okay, well, what's going to be the first impression, right? Do I release a single first? Do I make sure that single is just the best song on the project? Or do I make sure that single is the most representative of the overall sound I'm going for to kind of warm people up to it, right? I'm in the middle of that right now. I'm finishing up, I think we're just mastering now for my next project. And it's like, okay, is this the song that I want to use as the single is, in terms of sequencing, it's the closer to the album. And so one of the guys that I'm working on it with, he says, are you sure we want to, like, that's the closer. We don't want to kind of, like, you know, end the album on a low note because people have already heard it. And I said, no. That's the climax of the album. And it's also just objectively, even as its own individual package, it's the best piece of the project. And so I'm confident enough in the rest of the material that I'm okay putting my best foot forward, because I know that the other stuff, the supplemental stuff, is still going to have an impact and be meaningful to people. So, you know, it's a lot of moving parts and a lot of variables, and it's tricky to find that balance. I think you just got to be aware of it. You just have to be cognizant of it, and you have to be disciplined enough to identify when the things that you're listening for and the things that you're going to prioritize might not 100% line up with your audience. And that's okay, right? People are different. So you just have to be aware of it and adapt as you see fit.